spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Today, for me, more than ever before in my life, the ultimate in happiness and achievement is really upsetting and teeing off liberals. It feels so good. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a Patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday, June 26th. Good morning. And a good morning to you on another beautiful God-given day on this Tuesday. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you if you're getting ready for a road trip. Hit the road and drive safely with the best of tires from your Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance, the way we start things every day. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning.
It's you?
I am. I would love to do the pledge.
Oh, then get it on, boy.
Will do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. Right now, the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway, with Roger and the crew getting there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to serve you with all the rental of the best tools and equipment you need for any construction project, whatever. Stop over and see them today at K&R Rental, or give a call at 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The sun is going to be shining, but it's a little on the breezy side. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We were hot yesterday, but today going to be a little bit more mild. Sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83. However, winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 25 miles an hour, and that's bringing our temperature down just a bit. Tonight, mostly clear skies, expecting a low of 53. Tomorrow, another warm one. Sunny skies, going to be calm, high of 91, mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 60 by Thursday. Winds picking up again, bringing down that temperature, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 77 with an overnight low of 52. By Friday, mostly sunny and 71, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny and mid-70s. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, that sounds like a ripping good summer forecast right here in the Magic Valley. Brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Call them, stop in, 678-3122. That's my first fly I've had in the studio so far for this summer. I'll be darned. He must be a friend. He came back for this year. We have a treat here in the studio this morning, and we're going to get to him in just a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to call. We have been blessed with the friendship of Frosty and Sandy Wooldridge, and they're traveling through, going to the coast, and Frosty's here in the studio with us this morning. We're going to have him on the air momentarily. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, the best of taking care of your clothes. Absolutely, you stop in. They have been in business for a long, long time, serving every everybody in the Magic Valley area at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. We've been taking my jeans to be pressed in my shirts and my sports jackets, everything in there for years. I urge you to do the same. The best, Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, and quickly, don't forget Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. For cattle consignments and sale information, be sure and check with them at 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Sale time 10:30 on Thursdays. I really am not going to elaborate too much. I'm just going to say good morning to a dear, dear friend for years and years, Frosty Wooldridge. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Zeb, and it's a pleasure to be with you and certainly to your listening audience right here in Idaho. Of course, Sandy and I are heading toward the coast right now, but we have enjoyed. I really would like to encourage everyone to go to Idaho Falls and see the Museum of Idaho.
Yes.
It is a spectacular museum, and there's also an extraordinary it's called the Bald Eagle Nesting sculpture that's right there in the city. It's so dramatic, it's so dynamic, showing these two bald eagles feeding their eaglets. And when you get there, it's just a fantastic sculpture. And all of the incredible renditions of Idaho there at the Idaho Museum of Idaho are just beyond spectacular. One of the finest museums I've gone to.
I need you to move that mic a little closer to you. Frosty and his wife are on the way to the coast, and you're going to be taking part in an endeavor that is going to be quite strength-consuming and fun.
A ton of fun. My wife Sandy and I are going to bicycle from the Canadian border, right there north of Bellingham, Washington, and then down the coast of 101 all the way to Tijuana, Mexico. So we're going to go we're going to go border to border, and it's going to be a fantastic summer of adventures on a bicycle. And so if you all have enjoyed a bicycle in your life and you know what fun you have, well, we're just a bunch of adults on our bicycles still having fun like kids.
Guys on crutches don't have fun on bicycles.
However, you can go on a hand-powered bicycle these days if you are on crutches. In fact, Bob Whelan, the fellow that was walking across America on his hands back in 1984 because he had both of his legs blown off in Vietnam, he has hand-cycled across America 3 times. So when there's a will, there's a way, and no handicap can stop any person whatsoever. They can absolutely overcome and really do whatever they want to do, and so that's the excitement of that opportunity.
Having you here in the studio, naturally, people that know Frosty, and you've listened for years to him on this program, we're going to be talking about illegal alien immigration into our country, and I welcome calls from my audience this morning to address Frosty. He's here. You might as well take advantage of asking him questions. You have written, and I'm going to take a commercial break right after I ask you this question, but you've written so many books, and you're so knowledgeable, and you've written so many stories and op-ed pieces about what's going on in this country. Is it safe to say that both you and I agree that we are at a tipping point right now in this country, and if we take the wrong step, it could be permanently damaging this country forever?
There is no question, Zeb, that we are on course to permanently damage the American way of life, American culture, of course, the English language in America, which is our most cohesive aspect. And I can't say this enough. Culturally, we're being fragmented by massive immigration. And again, those two fracturing aspects are the terms called multiculturalism and diversity. They simply don't work. They haven't worked, whether it's in Pakistan. You all know why India broke in from Pakistan broke away from India because there were two different cultures that were incompatible, at war with one another. If you look what's happening in Europe right now, the same thing is going on, where you're having two cultures that are completely incompatible.
Right.
You're also seeing that now in the United States. And although we're bigger in population, the creeping consequences of multiculturalism and diversity are breaking up cities like Detroit and Minneapolis.
Let me interrupt you right there and ask you quickly, and then give me a commercial break time. But why are people in this country on the liberal left have the mindset that all these different cultures and the fragmentation of our country is a good thing? Why did they think that?
They don't understand the long-term consequences, and the long-term consequences are parallel societies. And the thing is, I've already been to these places to see the parallel societies in Europe. I've seen these parallel societies around the world in my travels, and we're now seeing these parallel societies being created at our own behest, actually Congress. And like 2 weeks ago, Minneapolis, Minnesota has 120,000 Somali immigrants. Virtually all of them are on welfare. And if you all read the news at all, they have scammed the welfare, which is your tax dollars, to the tune of $100 million.
That's right.
And they're going back to Somalia and or other parts of Africa with your money in suitcases at $1 million a suitcase. This has been documented by DHS, and the scam now has been discovered. But can you imagine all of the other ways that, in fact, the latest was $330 billion a year just to pay for all of these immigrants coming into this country? So they're not a benefit. They're literally a horrible drain on our finances and essentially our culture.
But our society today, and unfortunately many people that even reside right here in a conservative part of Idaho, the Magic Valley, they will scoff at you and me, and they will chastise us and then call us bigots and hate mongers. But the facts are the facts, the numbers are the numbers, and what's happening with fragmentation, with these different diversified cultures coming in, it's destroying America. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, you can sit there and have all sorts of name calling, but facts are not racist. Facts are not xenophobic. Facts are not nativist. Facts are facts. I would invite every liberal listening to Zeb's show at any time to go into Detroit right now, go down Joy Road, because I used to work in Detroit. I'm the one that saw Detroit lose 1 million people, and virtually they were all white people who fled Detroit through the 80s and 90s and left it with only 648,000 instead of the 1.85 million that Detroit once thrived with because of the incompatibility of what happened. And that's happening now in places like Fremont, California. It's happening in places like Miami. It's happening in New York City. And so anyone that is condemning or calling names, go to these places. Go see if you're invited to walk through the it's called Somaliland right there in Minneapolis.
That's
go
right.
see if you're welcome and can ask for directions in New York City where there's 800 different languages. Again, these are the canary in the mine markers showing that our country is being fragmented and fractured by all this immigration.
But Frosty, and then I'm going to have to go right after. Give me a real short answer on this.
Sure.
But when you talk about the New Yorks and the Minneapolises, and I used to go to college up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and you talk about the fragmentation of our cultures, the left will sit there and say, oh, the glories of diversity. And they'll say, oh, these terrible bigots and hate mongers, Frosty Wooldridge, Zeb Bell, they don't know what they're talking about. And there are multitudes, unfortunately, of the left that will join in lockstep in condemnation of us as we see our country literally slip away into the cesspool.
Well, unfortunately, the liberals, so far, because the country is so big with 330 million people, you can separate yourself from those conflicts. You can stay away from Detroit. You can stay away from Somaliland. You can stay away from Miami, where there's literally Miami is no longer an American city, and neither is New York City. Los Angeles, the same. And what's happening, whether you look at the Muslim Brotherhood or you look at the Council on American and Islamic Relations, which is a terrorist group, essentially.
Absolutely.
And you look at what's happening with La Raza, you have to understand, as I've said when I did my 4-part series with you just a month ago, what's really happening is these are tribal groups, and they are all gunning to take over their part of this country, whether it's in the southwest of America, whether it's a caliphate there in Detroit, or a Muslim caliphate in Minneapolis or in Fremont, California. It doesn't make any difference. That's what's happening. So you can scream all the names you want against Zeb or even my work, but I'm just simply reporting the facts.
Absolutely. We've got to have a commercial break, and then calls are welcome for Frosty Wooldridge on our program this morning and in the studio, not back in Golden, right here. Give us a call. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open at 7:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. For all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, work with the best, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric, as they have been serving you for almost 60 years. My goodness, the best. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Wheels hit the button for our great friends at the Silver State Stampede.
PRCA Rodeo Action thunders into Elko, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. 3 big days for the 2018 Silver State Stampede. Nevada's oldest rodeo is family entertainment at its finest. This PRCA rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the toughest sports in the world. Action kicks off Friday, July 13th with mutton busting, a delicious tri-tip dinner, the Calcutta, Old West bronc riding, PRCA rodeo action, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dancing to the Jeff Palmer Band. Gates open on Friday and Saturday at 4 with mutton busting starting at 6 and rodeo action starting at 7. And on Sunday, gates open at noon with mutton busting at 1 and the rodeo action starting at 2. Tickets on sale now at the Boot Barn and the Elko Chamber Office. Rodeo action at its finest. With the 2018 Silver State Stampede, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. For more information, contact SilverStateStampede.com.
Hey, don't forget to our dear friends at Denny's Restaurant. Caller, I'll be right with you. Do not pass go. Do not hang up. Don't get $200. Give it to us. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. They are America's Diner. And they also have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime and all the time at Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We're going to have Thomas on the air with us on Thursday. Don't forget, you can stop in and enjoy great food and super service at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, you're on the air with Frosty Wooldridge and Zeb Bell. Go. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I have a question for Frosty. Frosty, do you see that the United States is going to be divided into many different countries, and the names of the states will be changed also?
That is a very strong possibility because if you read the book Civil War II, The Coming Breakup of America by Thomas Chittum, and I would recommend that to anyone, that book was written about 20 years ago, and everything that he essentially predicted is literally coming to reality right now. And such organizations as La Raza or the Muslim Brotherhood or the Black Lives Matter, all of these different organizations are organizations that want to separate from the American way of life. They want to create their own tribal turf, if you will, and that is a natural part of what happens when you break up the culture and the language of any country, and it's happening right now in Sweden. Sweden has now been called by the Muslims as the first caliphate of Europe, and Belgium's right behind them, and as their numbers grow, their power grows. And you're seeing the same thing in New York City, where the Muslims are starting to take over entire city councils. It's happened in Hamtramck. It's happened in Dearborn, Michigan. So as history has proven, and most people don't appreciate history, but I'm a historic buff, this has already happened many times in history. So if we don't stop all immigration into America, there's no way for us to stop the fracturing of America.
Let me interrupt here and ask, did you say all immigration? Are you inferring that all, period, or just illegal alien immigration?
I'm referring to all legal and illegal immigration is literally fracturing America.
We've got to get a handle on the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers. Again, let me go over this again. We're taking in 1.2 million immigrants legally every year from 196 different countries. And, of course, they are, again, completely incompatible with the American way of life because they're bringing in all of these different 196 different worldviews. They're bringing in 196 different languages, cultures, and certainly religions. And not all of these are compatible to the American way of life. That is just a fact.
That's right.
And so if you continue to do that, then you continue to fracture America, and at some point it simply does, we'll see fracturing of our states and renaming of our states. There's no question.
Caller, thank you so much for your call. Tony, God bless you, and Mary, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Frosty.
All right, God bless. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Pomerell Place, a place for senior living, outstanding people serving you. Senior living offers the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. All of this and more at Pomerell Place. Please call and find out more information today. Give Holly a call at 677-8212. Whether it's missing your medications or whether it's being lonely or the safety hazards, all of this and more, check on Pomerell Place. A place for senior living, 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Again, that number is 677-8212. Hey, I know some people that do a job that Frosty and I and everybody else, we don't want to do. I know some folks that pump out the septic tanks. I know some folks that have the liquid waste removal. I know folks that'll absolutely clean the sewer and sink drain lines, and that's Dino's Septic Service, the very, very best at what they do. Fast, fair, friendly service. All you have to do is give them a call on the landline, 436-6526, and in Burley, 678-1638. They'll pull in your yard with that big truck that says on the side, "Smells Cargo on the way." Dino's Septic Service, and they are the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, sir. I want to ask Frosty to touch on the tactics the Democrats are using where they're harassing people in public places, and Maxine Waters is encouraging that. That's right out of the Nazi playbook, if I'm not mistaken, if he would address that.
Go ahead, Frost. Thanks.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and people like Maxine Waters are actually advocating for anarchy. One of the things that we have in this country is the freedom of speech, the First Amendment right, and that right is to have a conversation. That is the right to give your opinion. That's a right to give your understanding from your point of view, and then always, because we have had a civil society, we get to move toward a solution. Maxine Waters, again, as I've said in the past, literally lacks any kind of intellectual understanding of that, and she has been announcing anarchy.
Absolutely no class. This woman has no class whatsoever and should not be in a public office.
She shouldn't, and there's several others that are along with her. Hank Johnson out of Georgia, who's a House of Representatives. This guy thinks an island will tip over if you have too many people on one side of it.
He's the man.
You've got John Lewis, who has done nothing for 40 years except be the biggest race. He calls everybody a racist, and that's all he's done in the House of Representatives, and he's done nothing. You got Joe Baca in California when he was in the House of Representatives. These people are not doing anything productive toward all of the people of the United States. They're simply name-calling, and then essentially this Maxine Waters, I can't even imagine having an intelligent sentence with her.
Well, you know that, and Doug, did you have anything as a follow-up before I run and open up more phone lines?
Oh, no, just everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them. Let's help them out.
God bless you. God bless you. Doug, I appreciate your call, and calls are welcome for Frosty as he's here in the studio. By the way, Judicial Watch has filed a House ethics complaint against Maxine Waters as of this morning, and they are demanding that she be censured and or released from her servancy to the House of Congress. I think this is one of the lowest class, and I mean this, and if anybody's offended, that's your problem, not mine. I think Maxine Waters is absolutely of the lowest class of any representative that we've ever had serve in this country.
I would totally agree. I've watched her over the years. She's done nothing to help literally her constituency whatsoever. She's only lined her pockets, and all she does is say negative words and sentences out there with no solutions whatsoever.
Let me do this. I'm going to take a break. Caller, stay on the line. Do not go anywhere. Stay right there. And I want to come back, and then I want to kind of form the next half hour. Where are we going to put these mass millions that want to come in here? And I want you to address that in just a few moments. Caller, stand by. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You got some pains, you got some aches, I'll tell you what, they can help. They helped me after my surgeries. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all of his great staff of physical therapists can and will help you. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in this area, serving you, and they really know their stuff. Call 678-1191. Make an appointment, and they can get you back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You get a hold of them today. Want to remind you, too, quickly, Rupert 4th of July celebration right around the corner. Snyder Surplus Incorporated says, come on to Rupert and have some fun for the 4th of July celebration. And Snyder Surplus, 116 South, 200 West of Rupert. Absolutely one of the broadest spectrums of everything you could be looking for at their store. From ammunition to mess kits and hats to boots, you name it, desks and chairs, it's all there. Stop in and see the good folks at Snyder Surplus, 116 South, 200 West of Rupert. Thank you, and come to the 4th of July celebration. And our dear friend Senator Kelly Anthon, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty high on old Kelly. He invites everybody to the square in Rupert during the 4th of July celebration. There's going to be something for everyone. Rupert celebrates another great year of great fun and festivities. Be sure and attend the Rupert 4th of July celebration, and thanks, Senator Kelly Anthon. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's me again.
Okay.
I just seen come over the Fox News that the Supreme Court upheld Trump's travel ban 5-4.
Yes.
So that's good news.
It is good news. We haven't had a chance to get into that yet, but Doug, thank you again for bringing that up on the air. I appreciate it.
God bless.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, and I want to talk about this travel ban in just a few minutes. But, you know, it's so easy for everybody to say, oh, America's a big country. We've got plenty of room. Come in. Come on. One, all welcome here in the United States. And that's absolute bogus. Environmentally and economically, what are we going to do with all these people?
Well, there was a great, one of the things that I appreciate about being on Zeb all these years is the fact that our voices are starting to be heard because the consequences are starting to impact people right down at the community level. And when it starts impacting your schools, when you've got all these languages in your schools, and then all of a sudden you've got these different incompatible religions that want to practice their prayers 5 times a day in school and disrupt this, the entire school, when they want to have special foods for them, that's interrupting our American culture. That's when you start to see the coffee rooms and the diners across America are starting to say, hey, what are we going to do with all these people?
That's right.
And I've written 2 books on this, America on the Brink, the next added 100 million Americans, and many of you have read that book. It spells it out. What are we going to do with another 140 million people here in the next 30 years? And by the way, we're already 30 million into that. In 10 years from now, when Zeb and I are talking, we'll be 35 million more toward that 138 million. And so what are we going to do? Well, a New York Times writer, and I think his name was Oliver, I can't remember, but I've got the link on it, and he wrote a piece. What are we going to do with all these people? And the answer is we're literally going to turn ourselves into if the gridlock traffic isn't bad enough in L.A. and certainly in Detroit and in Atlanta and in New York City and Miami and I was just down in Texas, it's a nightmare to get home and get to work, and then the air pollution that goes with it and the environmental degradation. What are we going to do? Well, if we continue on this path, we're simply going to degrade the quality of life and the standard of living for everyone in this country.
Let me inject something there. Even the Twin Falls City Council and their illustrious mayor have come out and said, oh, we need more diversity. We need more of these. Why? Why should we lose our culture to diverse other cultures coming in? I kind of like, if you want me to be blunt, I like small-town America. I like the atmosphere of everybody standing with tears in their eyes as that flag passes by on the 4th of July. I kind of like that culture.
Well, and it's because it's a successful culture. You'll have to understand the reason all these people are coming to our country, they're coming from failed cultures, failed societies, failed failed civilizations, failed governance. And unfortunately, they're bringing the same kind of worldview that will literally cause our country to fail. This is the path we're on, and you can see it all over Europe right now. You can see it in Detroit, Michigan. You can see it in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I can't say this enough. When you bring failure into the country, you create failure in the country.
Why can't people see the handwriting on the wall or the pictures on the news at 6 o'clock of what's happening in California soon will spread all across this country?
That's exactly correct. And one of the things that I'm hoping that as Zeb and I raise our rational, logical, and reasoned voices, we need to start a national discussion and debate on how and where we're going to take our country. And the answer is right now over a demographic cliff. And let's change that and move toward a viable civilization that's sustainable.
Absolutely. Caller, I'll be right there. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rentals, sales, service, and parts. And they've got 3 locations. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with our old buddy Juan. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, and the Nampa location with all the best of equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. They've got all the Bobcat excavators, and don't forget they've got the world's best mowing machine, the Walker lawn mowers. You'll stop mowing your lawn and mow your whole neighborhood. They are absolutely phenomenal. Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb, and your guest, which is really special this day. You just brought up something, Zeb, that kind of rattled my mind a little bit, and that's the fact that these people coming in here thinking this is a big country and there's room for everybody and everything else. I think about Minnesota, particularly where all these Somalis are wound up there. And by getting together and everything, now they have a representative in our United States Congress.
Absolutely.
And I hate to say what they're doing to city government.
I'm going to state my case on this really, really quickly. What's happening in this country with a division? It's a division and a fragmentation of our culture and our society. And little by little, it's like cancer. It's taking over more cells, if you will. And in this case, more areas, more communities, more city influence, more power that goes into the county, and then it goes into the state level, and then it goes into the national level. And most people today are not sharp enough to really witness and understand what's happening. Quite frankly, it's about time to open your ears, open your eyes, and see the takeover of the United States.
Let me also add to that. You have to understand that in the Somaliland in Minnesota right now, the majority of the men have stated they want to see Sharia law impacting and inculcated into the local law system. Well, I want every feminist woman out there to understand that Sharia law makes you the property of a man. You don't have any rights under Sharia law. You don't have any right to go choose your dress. You don't have any right to go to school. You don't have any right to drive a car. You have no rights to vote. Sharia law is the most misogynistic law of any kind of system I've ever seen. And you have to understand that Sharia law is a part of Muslim law that is a political, economic, and religious system that is counter to everything in the United States of America. And if it ever gets implemented, women's rights go down the drain.
Caller, I want to say thank you very much for your call. Keith, God bless you, man, and thank you.
You bet.
All right, buddy.
Wonderful day.
You know, the one thing I want to say here quickly, Frosty, is that the gutless people, and those are the liberals, and I'm going to say it like I feel, they will wait till after this program is over, and then they will call, and then they will give the emails of hate and disgust and call me a bigot and a hate monger. Oh, by the way, to those liberals that might have any nerve at all, my number is 312-2976 on my cell phone, or if you have the nerve, you could call here on the program and discuss your attitude or philosophy with Frosty and I, but I doubt you'll call. But we've got to wake up and understand that little by little, Minnesota's a good example. On the other side, the left coast, California, is bulging at the seams with financial and economical problems, and the people in California can't absorb the cost factor of all these people coming into their state.
That's correct. And the one thing that I would really like everybody to appreciate, there are fully 90 Muslims running for public office here in November, and one of them is running for governor of the state of Michigan. And when these people get their power into powerful positions, Sharia law will be following, because that's what they're gunning for. I think I've given you that quote by Ahmad, the Council on American Islamic Relations director. He just said, we're not here to be equal. We're here to dominate, and the Quran should be in the dominant religion here and everywhere around the world. They've already stated what they plan to do, and whether you're a liberal or a libertarian or a conservative or whatever you are, they don't care. They're on their mission, and that is to install Sharia law here in America and across the planet.
I want to ask you another really important question about our borders in just a second. Let me get this in quickly. The 2018 4th of July schedule of events with the theme, America, Let's Celebrate. Don't forget, it starts this Saturday with a great big kickoff breakfast, and they call it the Christmas lighting breakfast for the 4th of July, and that's at 6 a.m. on the city square this coming Saturday. Then, of course, every day during the 4th of July activities, they've got horse races and music, and they've got mutton busting at the fairgrounds, and they've got that famous Firecracker 500 lawnmower race. Oh, my goodness, they have fun. They know how to have fun at the Rupert 4th of July 2018 schedule of events, America, Let's Celebrate. I want to ask you about our borders. I'm a little naive on this, I'm sure. I've been to the border. I've understood what the problems are, I think. What is so difficult about maintaining the security and the sanctity of our Constitution and borders, and keep ourselves a border country that respects its citizens, and not just a hell free-for-all for anybody that wants to walk in the cloak of darkness? What's going on here?
One of the things that I have found, and I was just down to the border a month ago, is that again, the world's failed states, all the failed civilizations, governance that has failed, and all these other people, they're coming to America because it's a safe, and it's also a sane, and it's also a viable civilization. This country operates successfully because of free speech, because of the Second Amendment, because of our rights as Americans. And what's happening is that these borders have not been guarded and secured for 40 years now, certainly since the 1986 amnesty, and it's because big business is making tons of money off of more people moving into the country because it creates more consumption rates and cheap labor.
I dare say, and tell me, Frosty, you've written books about this and everything, but I dare say, and I maintain, that this afternoon at 3 p.m., we could control and close the borders if we wanted to.
That's correct. The Congress could do it literally in a week. Put either the National Guard or the Army down on the border every half mile, and drones and electronics. And here's the thing. We're taking in, and this is documented, $64 billion a year in drugs. We had over 40,000 drug overdoses in the past year. I think it was 42,000 kids and parents and all that died from overdose heroin, from all the opiates, from the methamphetamine, from the cocaine, and all these other drugs. That's $64 billion a year is going out in cash.
Not even to mention the human animals, and they are.
That's right.
MS-13 coming across our border. This is insane that we're importing people without any jurisdiction or legislation, and they're coming in and basically uprooting and upheaving the lifestyle of America.
That's correct. And to me, it's really ironic, if not absolutely against Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. We're supposed to be protected from invasion by Congress, and they're not. They're not doing their job.
I've got to do a weather forecast real quick. You take care of that throat. I have that happen every morning sometimes. Let's also remind everybody about our weather forecast real quick. And that, of course, is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they are located, easy to find, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. The number to call to arrange a hearing screening for your hearing health, 312-0957. I'll repeat that, 312-0957, the best. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The sun is going to be shining, but it's a little on the breezy side. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We were hot yesterday, but today going to be a little bit more mild. Sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83. However, winds out of the west, right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 25 miles an hour, and that's bringing our temperature down just a bit. Tonight, mostly clear skies, expecting a low of 53. Tomorrow, another warm one. Sunny skies, going to be calm, high of 91, mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 60 by Thursday. Winds picking up again, bringing down that temperature, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 77 with an overnight low of 52. By Friday, mostly sunny and 71, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny and mid-70s. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Absolutely the best. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, they know and they can help. Trust your hearing to Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. 312-0957. We're on the air with a dear friend, and he's passing through with his lovely wife, Sandy, and that's Frosty Wooldridge on the way to the coast. Frosty, why can't Americans and the media project a honest and true picture as to the cost factor of what the money is and the amount is out of the taxpayer's pocket for this idiocy with illegal aliens just absolutely storming our country?
Well, again, I want to really make this clear that it's even worse with the legal immigration, because we're bringing in all these people that have no skills, no education, can't speak English, and they're flooding the Social Security offices with SSI, and the Congress simply won't stop it. I've gone to both of my senators a number of times, and my House rep, and they're not stopping it. I mean, it would take common sense. If you're having 50,000 women come across the borders illegally every year and having a baby, then all of a sudden you've got 350,000 people, children that you're paying for K through 12. Well, that comes to $330 billion a year. And that's every time you go to work, you're getting taxed to pay for their lives, and they came here illegally. Why didn't we stop the diversity visas after the one diversity visa immigrant mowed down 9 people on the path in New York City just last fall because he was a Muslim? Why didn't Congress stop and doesn't stop the chain migration that's flooding the country? Again, with all the motels are taken over by the Indians because they hate their country because it's so overloaded. Why didn't they stop that? Why doesn't the Congress do something rational about the immigration crisis, both the legal and the illegal?
There you've touched on something that I want you to elaborate on. I think that whether it's our people, our representatives, our senators, I'll lump them all together. There is a great big yellow streak of cowardice to do anything and get something done for the American people in the House and the Senate. They're not doing their job. That's correct.
Whether it's the 2 senators, the U.S. senators from Idaho, or certainly the 2 from Colorado, I read them the Riot Act just a week ago before I left on this trip. They're not doing anything to stop it. Yeah. And again, for those of you who want to empower yourselves, I highly recommend joining numbersusa.org. There's now almost 10 million Americans who are as angry as you are, and we are gathering greater power.
But wait a minute, 10 million is a minuscule number. There should be 300 million at least out of the 340 million that are uproarious and ready to take a pitchfork down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Totally in agreement. And again, enough Americans yet still have not been affected in communities across America, but this is a guaranteed fact. If we do not stop mass immigration, both legal and illegal, we will have more than 140 million more people, and our quality of life and our standard of living will be degraded commensurately with the numbers and our freedoms, because the more people is the less we're going to have of personal freedoms. Whether you go fishing and there's 100 people on the same stream you're on, or there's now 1,000 people on the same stream, or you're going to go boating and there's 1,000 boats on the lake instead of just 100 boats on the lake, the highways are going to be beyond crowded.
That's right.
The pollution is going to be exponential in its consequences. consequences. So this is not going to be fun for anybody, whether it's the immigrant or the American. We're all going to degrade the quality of life and our entire country with the numbers going up.
Why do these liberal loons sit there and I'll have that question posed to you in just a moment. Let's not hold this caller. Caller, good morning. You're on the air quickly.
Zeb, Earl, Frosty, good to hear you're in the country. The one thing that come across my mind is, do you think the World Banking Organization is essentially set behind this, and that's why our country can't move on it? I'll let you answer it. I'll get off the phone.
Okay, go ahead, Frosty, please.
I will say this, after fighting this thing for over 20 years now and bringing the facts to bear, the facts are speaking that there's no question somebody in the higher places with all the money and all the power literally is making sure that person or that entity or those organizations are making sure that the U.S. Congress has not passed any reasoned immigration to stop this invasion of our country. I don't know who it is. Some people say it's the Bilderbergers. Some say it's the Illuminati. Some say it's the Jewish contingent. You can go down the line. Whomever it is, I don't know who it is, but there's no question somebody is absolutely behind the power that's stopping the United States from stopping this invasion.
And it's not just stopping an invasion. It's absolutely destroying and bringing down the greatest and most successful country in the world's history.
That's correct. Exactly. And that's why it's so ironic. Why would this power or these entities or these organizations want to do this to this country? Because at some point, I don't care if you live in a gated community, I don't care if you're filthy rich, you're going to have to be living in places like Atlanta or Detroit. I just came through Chicago. It's a nightmare.
It is.
I mean, Chicago, Illinois is a nightmare, and the south side of Chicago is a war zone. There are more killings there than any place in the country every night. People
and led by a liberal mayor, Rahm Emanuel, that will not do a thing.
He will do not anything whatsoever.
And look at de Blasio in New York. Look at what's happening in Frisco, L.A., all over the country, led by liberal leadership on the Democratic ticket, and that's the problem.
And here's one thing that I'm going to predict to every person listening across America right now. At some point, we will not be able to fix it. We will not be able to repair it. We will not be able to correct it. It will be out of hand. And then that's where literally the fragmentation of our country will begin.
Yeah, but we're there.
In earnest.
We're there. And right now it's just kind of like going up the last flight of stairs. When I look at what's happening with the likes of the filthy-mouthed Hollywood representatives, actors they call themselves.
Robert De Niro is a beanbag.
Absolutely have the IQ of a hockey puck. And then you talk about same education and mentality with Representative Maxine Waters trying to stir up strife, trying to stir up dissension, and create havoc. I mean, this country is right now, like I said, we got our boot heels on the edge of the Grand Canyon. All we need is a stiff breeze. We're going to fall in.
And that is what we're facing. And again, as I said, we are adding 1.7 million more essentially cancer cells to our country every year in immigration, both legal and illegal, and nothing is going to become good of any of this because all of it is going to add to the numbers, which are consequential on every level, whether it's water, whether it's energy, whether it's resources. We simply are not going to be able to survive this.
Absolutely. Frosty Wooldridge. I've got to pay some bills here real quick with our major sponsor. Wouldn't be here if it weren't for them, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, saying if you're going on a road trip, be sure and come in to see them. They've got all the different tires for your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailers, boat trailers, camp trailers, all the different tread designs, everything. They want you to go on that road trip and be safe and come home just the same. Stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Absolutely the best, serving you. That's the key word, serving you for safe driving. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you very much. Boy, this hour went fast. I'm so sorry that you have to leave and go, and I've got other commitments today, but I just want to say to you and your wife, it was, and Deanna and I both shared this last night, it's a blessing to have you here.
Thank you very much, Zeb. And Deanne and you have been fabulous. Last night we got to see the twin roping, and it was just a blast to watch Zeb out there with the big lasso, and he is taking all these steers down, and it was great. And it's just a thrill to spend some time together as friends. And again, I'm going to continue my voice. Zeb is going to continue his voice. At some point, the key is to create a national debate discussion on what are we going to do with our country, where do we want, and how are we going to, what are we going to bequeath to our children?
We've got to have some definitive value.
Yeah, we've got to have value, we've got to have our culture, we've got to have our language, we've got to have a cohesiveness as American citizens, not black, white, brown, Hispanic, and everything else under the sun. We have to move forward as Americans, and that's the key, with a single language and a single culture. And that's why, as I've said, we have got to shut down the borders of the United States of America if we hope to survive in the 21st century. And I'll be back with more information in the autumn when I come back to be on the Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch radio program weekly. And again, it's going to be up to you, because you are the citizens and you are the ones with the voices, and you've got to raise your voices, and I encourage that all the way. And Zeb,
Frosty
thank you so
Wooldridge,
much.
God bless you and Sandy. Right now, we're going to head for the news from CBS momentarily. Come back next hour with an outstanding lady, Liberty McCarter, writing for thestream.org, and I can't wait to talk to her. Don't miss it. Frosty Wooldridge, thank you. God bless. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, good morning, good morning. It was such a treat to have Frosty and Sandy Wooldridge here overnight. Just absolutely wonderful friends. Thank you so much. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. If you're getting ready for a road trip, stop in and see them today. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, old Wheels perched on the button. Let's have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and don't forget, if you need a dumpster of any size to clean out the basement, clean out the garage, in my case, I'd need 47 of them to clean out my office. They've got them for you. They'll deliver it to your property, and then, of course, when it's full, they'll come and get it. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. We also want to acknowledge and say thank you to some people that have been on our program, I think, right from the very first year, and that's, of course, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one, always, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. And you know what else they're going to do? They're going to have a breakfast on the 4th of July. This has become a tradition before the parade starts over there in Rupert, and it's free to you. It's a Veterans Day breakfast, and they want you to come by and be a part of it at Hanson Mortuary, starting at about 8 o'clock on the 4th of July. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Before we go to a wonderful lady that's going to be on our program next, I want to remind everybody, too, about Ark Animal Hospital. Take care of your pets, your itty-bitty kitty cats and your dogs and your horses and your roping steers and your dairy cattle. I know who to go to, and that's Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. A mixed animal practice, meaning they can make sure everyone, all the big animals, all the tiny ones, stay healthy, they are the best. Dr. Bill and Dr. Jordan, the whole crew at Ark Animal Hospital in Hayburn. 678-1177, where they have warm hearts for cold noses. Right now, here's a lady that I just absolutely love having on the program. She's very knowledgeable, writes outstanding articles for thestream.org. Liberty McCarter, how are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. Thanks so much for having me back on.
Liberty, your articles regarding some of the Supreme Court cases regarding the ruling against and or for Christian businesses. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of what you want to talk about this morning.
Well, it's been a really good month at the Supreme Court, I think, for a lot of people coming at this from a Christian and conservative perspective. There have been several cases in the past few years of Christian business owners who have faced bullying in the public square and by government officials simply for trying to conduct their business according to their beliefs. After same-sex marriage was legalized by the Supreme Court, you had a lot of couples going into businesses requesting services for their same-sex weddings, and Christian vendors like Christian bakers or florists, many of them said, look, you can buy anything in my store, I'll serve you anything, I just can't participate in your wedding. Here's some other businesses close by that would be happy to serve you. And then because of that, they were sued, they were dragged through a long court process, and when we've had two big victories this month in those cases. You heard earlier this month about Jack Phillips, who is a Christian baker in Colorado, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, saying that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission was very hostile to his religion, so they did not consider his case in an unbiased manner as they're supposed to do according to the First Amendment. They were actively hostile to his religious beliefs, and that's why they ruled against him. And the Supreme Court said, guess what? According to the First Amendment and freedom of religion, you can't do that to someone. And then yesterday, we had a Christian florist who faced the same kind of situation, Baronelle Stutzman in Washington. She had served this one gentleman for years, considered him a friend. She knew he was gay. That didn't matter to her. And when he asked her one day to make floral arrangements for his same-sex wedding, she said, look, I'm so sorry. That's one event I can't do for you. Here's some other florists who will be able to do that. And instead of just walking away, he sued her. The Washington State Attorney General sued her. She was fined lots of money. If she loses this case, she could lose her entire business and retirement savings. But yesterday, the Supreme Court sent her case back to the lower courts to be considered in light of the earlier opinion for the Christian baker, saying there was some religious hostility here. So you need to go back and you need to look at this case and how you treated this woman and say, did you do that with neutrality or did you do that with an anti-religious bias? And I think it's pretty clear they treated her very biased because of her religious beliefs.
You know, Liberty and Wheels, watch the gain on there to make sure that Liberty's voice is up equal to our level. Thank you. But Liberty, I'm going to say this, and you can dispute it and or agree with me, that I think a lot of businesses in this country, whether it's a cake maker, whether it's a florist, it doesn't make any difference, are targeted more so today than ever before by the LGBT to further their cause and what they want to put out in front of the media. Would you agree or disagree?
I think so. I think that, there are definitely cases where activists on the left will target businesses that they know are owned by Christians because they want to see them destroyed. And it's also important to note that just the super radical activist wing of, the LGBT group or the left-wing group, they do not speak for everybody. There have actually been several individuals who say, look, I support same-sex marriage or I'm gay, but everybody has a right to conduct their business according to their conscience. And I think, for Americans who are looking at this from a constitutional perspective, that is pretty clear because you wouldn't want to force, a Jewish baker or a Jewish business owner to make something that was non-kosher or something that violated his beliefs.
Right. And
in the Masterpiece Supreme Court decision earlier this month, it actually came up that there were certain bakers in the area who had had requests to make cakes that included anti-gay slurs. And they refused to make those because they said, no, we're not going to make that. That goes against our beliefs. Nobody made a big deal, and that's their right to refuse to make something that violates their beliefs. So a Christian baker or a Christian florist should also be able to refuse to not make something that violates their beliefs.
Well, and the thing is, by forcing and coercing businesses to do and serve against their beliefs, what if the shoe was on the other foot? How would they respond to this situation?
Well, exactly. I mean, and that's what Justice Kennedy actually pointed out in the case earlier this month with the Christian baker. He said there had been 3 other cases in Colorado where a baker was asked to make a cake that had anti-gay slurs, and that baker refused to make it. And guess what? The Colorado Civil Rights Commission didn't come down on them and say, hey, you need to make that anti-gay cake. But whenever it was a Christian baker who said, I'd rather not participate in a same-sex wedding, they did try to force him to make the cake. So it's not being handled in an equal way, and I think that's just because you're seeing people targeting these Christians right now who are trying to stand up for their beliefs because their beliefs aren't popular. But fortunately, so far, the Supreme Court has said, no, you can't act that way just because of someone's religious beliefs. Everybody has the right to their religious beliefs and to be able to live their lives according to those beliefs.
Liberty, let me ask you, with your writing for the Stream and really getting all the details of these Supreme Court rulings and these stories, etc., when I've said on the radio many, many times that I think that there is an avid, very rabid attack on Christianity going on in this country. Some people have sent me emails. Some people have called me and said, quite frankly, I'm silly in that thought. I don't think so. I think every day that goes by, I'm seeing more of a knife in the back of Christians and our beliefs. Would you agree or disagree?
I would agree. And I think, as someone who has worked in journalism and with a religious freedom legal group, I've seen examples of this hostility to religion and particularly Christianity in our nation for the past several years. And the thing is, what's great about this month and the Supreme Court rulings that are coming down is that we actually have the Supreme Court acknowledging that hostility to Christianity. One of the things, in the Masterpiece decision earlier this month, the Supreme Court opinion notes that the Colorado Commission violated violated its duty under the First Amendment not to base laws or regulations on hostility to a religion or religious viewpoint. They also condemned the fact that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission compared Jack's Christian beliefs to slavery in the Holocaust, which is extremely offensive. And so that you can see what government officials are thinking of Christianity if they put it in that kind of light. And so you have the Supreme Court saying that this kind of hostility is unconstitutional. So we're seeing these attacks, and we've been seeing them for years. And then finally, there's kind of like a break in the clouds with some light shining through saying, the Supreme Court is in a good place right now because it's acknowledging this hostility and it's condemning it, and it's telling state governments that you need to stop doing this. You can't treat Christians this way.
Now, let me ask you this. In the case of florist Baronelle Stutzman, and Wheels ride the gain on that feedback, please. What about the expenses? What about the time and the effort and the overall depletion of savings and checking accounts, etc.? How is she going to be reimbursed for this absolute devastation?
Well, fortunately, she did have the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a Christian legal group, come alongside her, and they're able to represent her for free, and that's what they do. That's their ministry, is helping Christians who are in legal trouble. And so, in that sense, that's been a real blessing for her. I know she was fined by the government, and I think, at that, the Supreme Court has not ruled on that level. They just remanded her case, which means they sent it back to the Washington Supreme Court to be reconsidered, and hopefully with a more neutral outcome this time. So we'll see once it's reconsidered what the state decides to do, whether or not they actually do the right thing this time and realize that they were wrong in how they treated her. That's still to be seen. And one thing I know that is just inspiring to point out is that, Baronelle, she's a grandmother. She's a mom. She's somebody who has built her business for years and years and poured her life into it. But she said, no matter what she loses or what she's already lost, she said it was worth it because everybody has a time in their life where they have to take a stand for what they believe. And that's exactly what she did, and she would do it again because she believes that's what she's supposed to do, is stand up for what she believes in. And so it's great to see the Supreme Court yesterday, rewarding her for that and ruling, not necessarily ruling in her favor, but acknowledging that she's probably been treated unfairly, and hopefully, the Washington state will reconsider her case and give her a more fair outcome next time.
Let me ask you this question. With your research about these stories, what about other stories that are maybe laying kind of in the rubble a little bit and just waiting to have their voices heard? Are there more of these kinds of stories, whether it's about a florist or a baker? Are there more of these stories that are waiting possibly to go all the way to the Supreme Court?
There are. I know one in particular is a case out of Oregon. And it's another case of bakers, a couple with 5 children, and it started in 2012. They had a same-sex couple come in and request a cake, and again, it was a return customer, which means they didn't have a problem with these people as individuals. They would serve them any time. They just said politely, "I'm sorry, we cannot participate in your event." They were fined $135,000 by the state of Oregon. This is Aaron and Melissa Klein. And their law firm, First Liberty Institute, actually just announced a few days ago that they are filing their case before the Supreme Court because they said their case is very similar to Jack Phillips. They have the commissioner in the state of Oregon actually posted on Facebook and condemned them before he even heard their case back in 2012. He was already stating to the public and giving statements to the media that they were being discriminatory and that he didn't agree with them. And so right there you have evidence of a very unbiased government official basically condemning them before he even hears their case. And so that's a clear example of anti-religious hostility. And they're hoping that if their case goes to the Supreme Court, it'll be, a repeat of the Masterpiece case, where the Supreme Court says there was anti-religious hostility here, and they can hopefully reverse the decisions against the client.
And here's something I want to ask you, Liberty, with your study and research on these cases. What is the difference from those folks that refuse to do business because it was against their faith, or myself, as a radio owner of a program, etc., and handling all the ads? There are certain businesses that I do not want, nor will I let on the air. I will not advocate for them. Am I basically in the same wave set, if you will, as these businesses, and I possibly also could come under attack? I'm going to maintain it's my business, and I'm going to run it my way.
That's probably a better question.
I need you, Wheels, we need you to turn that up, please.
On my, the limited research that I have done, it is a little different when it is a public venue like a restaurant or a florist shop. And one thing to note is that these people like Barronelle and Jack Phillips and Aaron and Melissa Klein, they are not refusing to serve people. Like the whole Red Hen debacle with Sarah Sanders, they wouldn't even let her in their restaurant. That is not what happened here. These people, these Christian bakers and florists, they don't care if you're gay or straight or whatever. You can come in and you can buy their products. What they're saying is, I cannot use my artistic ability to create a custom cake for your wedding because that would be expressing my endorsement for same-sex marriage, which I cannot do. So I think businesses do have a right to decide what events they participate in. And then, if you have an ad on your radio show that kind of says that you endorse that ad, so I would say that that's, similar. But it is not a case of, refusing to do service with someone. It's refusing to participate in an event, which is an important distinction.
Absolutely. Liberty, any final thoughts on these cases, especially the case with Aaron and Melissa Klein? Any projections as to what might happen in these cases, or was a precedent set by the Supreme Court that actually will be a benefit to other people that are suffering the same Christianity persecution?
Well, when the Masterpiece decision came down earlier this month with the Colorado baker, some people argued that it was a narrow decision and that it was just specific to that case and would not affect any others. But then on Monday, we had Barronell's case come down, and the Supreme Court sent it back to Washington to be reconsidered in light of the Masterpiece case. And so Alliance Defending Freedom President Michael Ferris said that shows the Masterpiece decision is not as narrow as many claimed. So I think there is really a lot of hope for the clients and the Oregon bakers when they take their case to the Supreme Court. I think we could see the Supreme Court say again, hey, send this back to Oregon, and you need to reconsider that case in light of the Masterpiece decision, because there is very clear anti-religious hostility there.
Absolutely. Liberty McCarter, and one of my favorite guests on this program, and she writes for thestream.org. Can you tell us a little bit to my audience about how they can find your writings and all the stories that you're covering?
The best way is to go to stream.org. You can also find the stream on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm on Twitter as well at Liberty McCarter.
Liberty, God bless you. Thanks for what you do, and thanks for all the information, and we appreciate you being on the program. Come back soon.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, thank you very much. Wonderful lady, Liberty McCarter. Right now, let's have this good word for the Silver State Stampede.
PRCA Rodeo Action thunders into Elko, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. 3 big days for the 2018 Silver State Stampede. Nevada's oldest rodeo is family entertainment at its finest. This PRCA rodeo brings you the thrill of pro riders going head-to-head in one of the toughest sports in the world. Action kicks off Friday, July 13th with mutton busting, a delicious tri-tip dinner, the Calcutta, Old West bronc riding, PRCA rodeo action, the world-famous Ring of Fear, and dancing to the Jeff Palmer Band. Gates open on Friday and Saturday at 4 with mutton busting starting at 6 and rodeo action starting at 7. And on Sunday, gates open at noon with mutton busting at 1 and the rodeo action starting at 2. Tickets on sale now at the Boot Barn and the Elko Chamber office. Rodeo action at its finest. With the 2018 Silver State Stampede, July 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Elko County Fairgrounds. For more information, contact silverstatestampede.com.
Thank you very much. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you on Thursdays, we have a kind of a really relaxing segment with Sportsman's Warehouse and our buddy Josh, that's the head of the fishing department at Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard. What he does, he takes off and he might be going to Brownlee Reservoir. He might be out at Salmon Dam. He might be in some trout stream. And he's actually fishing while he's on his cell phone talking to us on the air about what he's catching, how he's catching them, what kind of tackle he's using, and everything else, how the fishing conditions are. That's always on Thursdays at 10:32, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse. It's called The Old Fishing Hole with Josh at Sportsman's Warehouse. And don't forget, stop into Sportsman's Warehouse. Check out all the equipment for your fishing and your hunting and your camping and your knives and your food and your guns and ammo, your clothing. I love going there. You will too. Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Lots of good people, lots of fun. When I talk about good people, I've got to take just a moment to tell you all about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Hello, Jeff Bronson and the crew. My goodness, you know, a good store that really serves the public has got to have great people, and they've got exceptionally good people over there that know all about the beautification and the comfort items you need for your home, whether it's all the recliners or the reclining sofas or the love seats, or whether in the sleep section it's all the different mattresses. What a great selection. Or underfoot, the best of carpeting and flooring, all there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those great people today. Why, I'm getting all choked up about it. Also, real quick, you know that I brag a lot, and it's not brag when it's a fact, and that's Let's Ride. They're located over at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. That's where we got our four-wheelers. I couldn't believe it. We got those over 10 years ago. We've had more doggone fun. They've got all the ATVs. They've got all the side-by-sides. They've got 0% financing on ATVs, and they've got all the watercraft. Oh, my. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. It's Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is true. This is where the fun is sold. Coming up on Sunday, there's going to be a Patriotic program, and that's going to be in celebration of our Independence Day coming up. And we're going to have a lady on later on this morning at 10:30 that's going to talk about that Patriotic program. Colleen Wood will be on our show at 10:32 this morning. Deanne just handed me a news note, and it came across the wire. Ba-deep, 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 ba-deep. Berwyn Mussman, my old friend, emphasis on old friend over in the Eden-Hazelton area, is celebrating a birthday today. Berwyn, I know the family's going to give you a great big cake and all kinds of gifts. The least you could do is save a little piece of cake for Deanne and I. Berwyn Mussman, happy birthday. Nice family. Right now, guess who's on the air next and ready to go? The one, the only, absolutely world-known, why they call her with questions from India and Japan, all about gardening, and that's Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Here's the lovely Miss Vicky.
Good morning, Zeb. How are we doing on this lovely windy morning?
Well, I got worn out with that introduction.
I bet you did.
What in the world is going on at Vicky's Country Garden, celebrating 21 years in business? I'll stop over for a glass of champagne later on today.
There you go. There you go. We're just still here doing our whatever the heck we do over here and watching the wind blow today.
Boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to blow relatively hard this afternoon. I got a question for you. I did a little research for our program this morning, and I was reading a little segment about how to get rid of slugs in your garden.
Uh-huh.
And I, quite frankly, I think in my reincarnation, if there is such a thing, I want to come back as a slug. Because they said the best way to get rid of them is let them drown in a can of beer.
There you go. They will crawl right in. You can put like a pie plate or something like that out and put a little bit of beer in it, and they will crawl in there and drown. There's something about I don't know if it's the smell, what it is, or maybe they're alcoholics. I don't know, but they'll crawl in a pan of beer.
What is basically a slug? There's so many things in God's world that we don't understand why they are. I was talking to my good friend Frosty Wooldridge last night. Why in the world did God ever invent or create a mosquito? What about slugs? What benefit are slugs?
See, that's my theory. There's a lot of things. I think he just put a few things on this earth just to keep us annoyed.
Oh, okay. It strengthens our faith.
Ghosts and slugs are all in that, and flies are all in that little package. But a slug is basically, it's a crawling insect. It is a very slimy insect. They have a very mucousy body to them. They don't like hot and dry. They have to be in a cool, damp area, and they are a very bad chewing insect. They literally will they chew the leaves completely. They'll leave just the veining on a leaf. It looks just kind of like lace when they get done with it.
Really?
And they literally they just strip plants of everything. They're a very harsh, very chewing insect that can really cause a lot of damage.
Well, do they travel
where it's wet and dry, or wet and damp?
I see.
They do not like hot and dry because their body structure can't handle that.
Where do they? Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here, and I don't mean to, but I want to know, where do they originate from?
Oregon. Washington and Oregon. Have you ever seen the size of the slugs in Washington and Oregon, especially Oregon?
Are you talking about the two-legged kind, or are you talking about the ones that slither in a garden?
The slithering ones. We get some plants in here sometimes that'll have slugs on them that are like 3 inches long.
Oh, my.
Most of the time, ours here are, maybe up to an inch, something like that. We don't have, but I've had them come in stuck to the side of containers down in plants coming out of Oregon that are, they are absolutely gross. They're about 3 inches long, and they're probably a half-inch in diameter or bigger. And they're big, and like I said, they up in Oregon, they grow them big and they grow them strong. And I think they've sent them to us.
Well, they're kind of sounds like you're talking about a tapeworm, for heaven's sakes.
Kind of like that. Yeah, they're basically kind of in the worm family, I'm sure. Because of their body structure and that type of thing. But they are a mean one, and there's baits that you can put down if you don't want to use beer. There's slug and snail bait that you can put down. The diatomaceous earth, which is the all natural powder that you can put down, that you can put that down on and around your plants, and that'll get them too. So there's ways of getting rid of them.
Holy cow. And they're basically here all year long. Do they lay dormant during the winter, or what's the story here?
Yeah, they have to basically lay dormant, or go into it, lay eggs, die and lay eggs, and then the eggs hatch or however and come back. But you don't see them in the winter here. Now you do in Oregon and up in those areas. You see them year round up there because they don't have the harsh winters that we have. But they disappear in the winter time, and then they come right back in the early spring. Boy, as soon as it warms up enough to where they can start to move again, it's really fun. They hate. If you put salt on them, you just watch them just disintegrate right in front of you.
You're kind of a mean old gal, aren't you?
Sometimes. Kind of fun to watch, actually. Well, I guess maybe the environmentalists might not think so, but I think it's hilarious.
Well, why don't we do this someday on the program after it's over? Bring a bunch of slugs over here, and we'll have a slug-killing party.
There you go. That'll work, because a lot of people, they show up a lot on the north side of homes, underneath bark, where it's shady and damp. They can, you'll usually know if you have slugs because they leave kind of a glistening slime trail behind them.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like egg whites that has dried. It literally is a kind of a shiny trail. If they crawl across something, because they have got a very mucousy body, so they're really kind of gross.
Well, we really, in anticipation of lunch, spoiled a lot of people's dinner.
There you go.
But I did get a little letter that I wanted to talk to you about this week, and this person is after my own heart because of the same possibilities of failure. This person wrote in and said, I hate magpies. I hate magpies in my garden. I hate magpies in general. I'm a very poor shot, and the magpies are winning. What do I do?
That's a trick, because magpies are they're really not afraid of anything that you put in the garden. Scarecrows and that, they'll sit right on top of them. They're a very smart bird, unfortunately, a little too smart. And they just aren't afraid of things. The only way of getting rid of them is to shoot them. To be honest, that's the only way you can actually eradicate them from your yard.
Well, the shooting is great, but when you're a shot like I am, it's going to just enhance more of a population.
Use a shotgun, and then you've got a wider span.
But really, birds in general, and magpies in particular, they're really hard on gardens, aren't they?
They've been very bad, yes, and they're getting worse because they're getting to be a heavier population. But they'll either take the seed out of the ground, somehow they know right where it's at. They'll pull the seed out of the ground, and if they don't do that, they'll take, as soon as the plant comes up, they'll pull the plant out and take it with them.
Well,
they have been very, very harsh. A lot of people have had a lot of trouble getting their gardens to come up because of the fact that they'll have one corn coming up here, and it might be 5 feet down the road before another one comes because the magpies have taken the the corn that's in the middle. So.
Oh, my goodness. One of the letter I had real quick was in regards to weeds. A lady wrote in and she said, in the last 2 weeks, my garden, the weeds are at least double or triple in growth than my garden is. What in the world should I do?
Sharpen your hoe.
Okay. Get out there and start hacking, huh?
Get started on that because either have the ground good and wet and pull them by hand and get rid of them, but try to get them before they go to seed. That's a must on weeds. You've got to try to get them knocked down before they go to seed, or otherwise you're just going to keep fighting with them all the way along.
Okay. Now, we're real close to the 4th of July, and I know that you've got a lot of great things over there at Vicky's Country Garden for the decoration, if you will, and the beautification of people's yards, etc. Tell us a little bit about that. Is it too late to get started? How big a job is that?
Oh, it's never too late to get. You have to start sometime, so It's never too late. But no, it's a good time. I mean, we just got in 2 new loads of bark. We've got in the Montana River rocks all in here. We've got all the different kinds of rock that you need. We've got the weed mat in all different sizes that goes down, and it's the good heavy weed mat that nothing's going to come up through. And this is a great time to get started and get it done, and then you're done for the summer, and you can go out and enjoy the rest of the summer then. Here's how I think we might have summer someday.
Well,
one day.
I tell you what, more than one day, I hope, without all the wind that's going to shift our residency over to possibly Kansas or Oklahoma. Let me ask you this, Vicki, in regards to the heat that we have had a little bit of, a taste of it yesterday. What about the speeding up, if you will, the process of maturation of some of the garden crops? Are we going to see, if the heat stays like this for the next couple of days, 90s, 80s, etc., are we going to see these crops, whether it's the radishes or whatever, are they going to really speed up and be ready to harvest?
Yeah, the temperature factor is a real important part in gardens, and yes, it will cause things to mature faster and grow faster, especially as slow a start as they've gotten off to. You'll see quite a difference in a lot of your little, like you say, your radishes, your lettuce, those kind of things are going to grow really fast. So be aware of that and watch them a little closer so you don't end up losing them and, that type of thing.
Okay.
Again, with all this wind, this is a watering issue. Again, the wind does dry things out quite a bit, so kind of be aware of that. Don't overwater, but don't let the wind beat them to death either. It's best to water them of an evening and let the plants have a chance to absorb the moisture and get back up to full potential again.
Okay, it is time for the Vicky's Gardening Tip of the Week. Go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to tell everybody that we have you're going to need a lot of insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, all of the sides. You're going to need those for the summer, and we've got them all, and we have all of the instructions to go with them, so just come in and see us, and we'll help you eradicate a lot of your bugs and diseases and things like that in your garden so you can have a healthy, good-producing garden. And fertilizers also.
Okay, now, at this stage of our program every week, I always say to you, my goodness, we're in the middle of summer and all the activity. What are your hours? Tell everybody when they can come by and see you.
Okay, our hours are still 9 to 6, Monday through Saturday, and we are now closed on Sundays. The season has slowed down enough to where we can, we're not that busy on Sundays, so we're going to take a little bit of the Sunday off. But we are here still from 9 to 6, Monday through Saturday. And if you're needing something on Sunday, I'm in here watering. Make an appointment with me. Tell me what you need. And if you need bark loaded, if I'm here watering, I'll load it. It's not a problem.
A lovely lady. And, Vicki, I guess we'll be talking to each other next week on Tuesday, the day before the 4th of July. What are you going to do on the 4th of July?
We're going to be in the parade.
Oh, my.
We're putting a float together, and look for us in the parade. We're the ones that's usually having a little more fun than everybody else is.
What do you do besides? You don't throw candy? Do you throw potted plants, or what do you do?
We actually We actually are going. Everybody else, they told us we couldn't throw candy, but everybody else did. So we're gonna be tossing a little bit of the candy out there too. So.
Never follow the rules. Always set your own path.
That's kind of my theory. You know, I've never done what I was told yet. So
there you go.
I'm too old to start now.
I love her. Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. The number to call this lovely lady at 438-5663. God bless you, Vicky. See you next Tuesday.
All righty, Zeb. Thanks.
All right, take care. I love her. She is as honest as the day is long and tells it like it is. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, don't forget, if you're over in the Rupert area, don't forget about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more with people that are really dedicated and responsive to your needs. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. Do that right now. Call them today. It's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to us by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Now, Leiden called me the other day, and he says, you know what, people need to be aware that there are brand new tax laws. That's right, tax rates have changed, and new deductions, and you'd better find out how you can possibly benefit from these changes. Get a hold of these folks today. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Be sure and check that out. Absolutely helpful people serving you. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The sun is going to be shining, but it's a little on the breezy side. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We were hot yesterday, but today going to be a little bit more mild. Sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83. However, winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 25 miles an hour, and that's bringing our temperature down just a bit. Tonight, mostly clear skies, expecting a low of 53. Tomorrow, another warm one. Sunny skies, going to be calm, high of 91, mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 60. By Thursday, winds picking up again, bringing down that temperature, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 77 with an overnight low of 52. By Friday, mostly sunny and 71, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny and mid-70s. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Gina. And do not forget, set up an appointment today with our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. I'm telling you, with the tax changes and tax laws and new deductions, make sure you know and understand that can help you, your business, your family, and your home. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Caller, I've got exactly 1 minute. Real fast. Go.
Good morning, Zeb. Is this a good time to give you a compliment?
I'll always take a compliment. I'm in between segments right now. Gary, go ahead. What have you got for me?
I want to thank you very much for all the advertising you did for me and the Modern Woodman for our event last Saturday at the Elks. They gave us a matching $2,500 grant, and we made it with our auction and donations from our great community who gives us a lot of support. But we really did appreciate your radio coverage, because that really means a lot, and I want to thank you very much for your generosity.
You are an outstanding friend and gentleman. Gary Shoresman, thank you, and you know anytime you've got something like that, we'll be more than helpful and ready to jump in and assist anytime. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. It worked.
All right. God bless you, man. Thanks much. Right now, we get a chance to visit with a very nice gentleman right now at Stoats Equipment Company in Burley, your John Deere dealer. It's time for the Stoats Equipment Ag Minutes.
Welcome to Stoats Equipment Ag Minutes, featuring innovative ideas and people that are dedicated to serving agriculture and you. Stoats Equipment, your John Deere authorized dealer, 119 Overland Avenue in Burley. They make your life easier. 5 words sum up Stoats Equipment's dedication to serving you. Quality, integrity, loyalty, caring, and community.
Stoats Equipment is your John Deere equipment dealer, providing everything from tractors to combines, swathers to lawnmowers. At Stoats Equipment, they care about their customers. And like their slogan says, we make your life easier. From large ag farm equipment to small compact utility tractors, Stoats Equipment works diligently for local customers to get the best deals. Stoats Equipment, 119 Overland in Burley. Stop in and see them today. We're on the air again with the store manager of Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley, Vic Carataccia. Vic, good morning, and what a beautiful summer so far.
Absolutely, and we're lucky and be glad to part of it.
You know, there's so much when people go into Stoats Equipment like I did a couple of weeks ago. Holy cow, I mean, I felt like a kid in a candy store. You've got so many different things, equipment, everything. The diversity there at Stoats Equipment is amazing. Tell us a little bit about what everybody can look for.
Well, I think one of our customers said it best. He said, it's like opening a $3 watch and seeing all them gears and everything inside. So everybody's surprised when we walk in the door and what we have to offer. And I always tell everybody, if we can sell it to a Boy Scout or to a nice Christian lady, we have it here at our store because it's going to be value and it's going to be an addition. And we hope that it's going to help them in their operations or their needs. And so we try to be diverse and make this a one-stop shop.
You know, the thing is, I don't care if it's a person looking for a utility tractor for a small farm or the horse properties. They need that smaller equipment to get down the feed lanes and get into some of the corrals, clean things out. Tell us a little bit about all the different kinds of equipment for maybe not the big farmer, but the smaller utility farmer.
Absolutely. So we have a great line called Frontier Equipment, which makes all kinds of attachments for the smallest tractor or smallest lawnmower all the way up to the biggest tractor. And so we have your needs for snow blowers, we have your needs for posthole diggers and scrapers and whatever it may be. And we specialize in horse property owners and small property owners, we call them. I like to call them weekend warriors like myself. We actually almost all the time get over our head, but hey, at least we give you the right tool to help you. And in our store, we carry the small compact tractors, and we're very, very competitive. Deere's come up with a great program. We have actually a 6-year warranty on them with 0% down for 60 months, and we actually have an extension all the way up to 10-year warranty on the compacts. We sell the Honda push mowers. We sell the Honda generators and other equipment that you might need for your landscaping, like weed eaters and blowers and edgers. We have the Traeger grills. We have the Yeti coolers. We have all the parts and service to back it. So, yeah, we're hopefully your one-stop shop.
I got to tell you, my wife has one of the Yeti drink containers, and that ice stays colder and harder in that drink than I've ever seen. Yeti is quite a product.
Absolutely. Yeti is a very good quality product, and that's the only thing we bring in. If we know it's going to bring value and it's a great addition to what we currently have, we're gonna carry it. And a great example is the Yeti cooler, where you can actually put a block of ice or a bag of ice, and it can last anywhere, depending on temperature, 3 to 6 days. I have one myself, and I tell you what, I have been completely and totally satisfied with it. And a Traeger grill, if you've never had a piece of turkey off a Traeger grill or some tri-tip or brisket, you're missing out, because it is another great quality product. And we carry all the supplies from all the barbecue sauce, pellets, everything you need for your weekend barbecue.
And, you know, the thing is, you also, I understand, handle a really good line of used equipment as well.
Absolutely. So one of the things we do here to help everybody is we take in traits, as long as it doesn't eat, as that one commercial says, because the last thing I want to be is feeding a horse. Although we have put in a pasture in the back, and we're growing a pasture to help the FFA kids, but it probably won't be ready till next year. But we help our customers by taking the trade in, and we give them the best possible price and training on a new mower. John Deere, there's an old saying, quality is seldom cheap and cheap is seldom quality, and I fully believe that a lot of times you get what you pay for. But one of the things you can't anticipate is as far as your dealership is getting in their participation and in their help and everything everything that you need to make sure your operation is going well, and that includes training. So a lot of people offer, they'll sell it to you, push you out the door, but we're more than that. We have a lot of depth, and we have field service. We can go right to your place. You don't even have to bring it in. If you do need to bring it in, we have free pickup and delivery within 30 miles. We have factory trained technicians and parts people, so we are a full service dealer.
I'll tell you what, folks, they do make your life easier at Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland and Burley. And, of course, we're talking to the store manager, Vic Carataccia. Thank you, Vic, and have a great day.
You too, Zip.
Thanks for listening to Stoats Equipment's Ag Minutes, your John Deere equipment dealer at 119 Overland and Burley. At Stoats, they want to make your life easier.
I have been so impressed with the people and the service over there at Stoats Equipment. And Vic and the young gentleman that was over here yesterday, as a matter of fact, by the name of Curtis, they really care. They do a tremendous job serving you at Stoats Equipment, 119 Overland in Burley. Absolutely great folks. I've got time for a telephone call before we go to the news. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Again, my thank yous. It was really a blessing. Yesterday at about 5 o'clock, Frosty and his wife Sandy pulled into our yard from Golden, Colorado, and they're on their way to the coast, and they had a rental car. They're going to leave over on the coast, and then they're going to get those bikes, and they're going to go all the way from the Canadian border clear down to the Mexican border for the summer. And it's going to be an all-summer activity for both husband and wife, Sandy and Frosty. And then coming up in August, we're going to have him re-implemented into our program schedule, and he's going to tell us all about all the things that he saw, all the people that he met, and quite frankly, discuss all the problems that are going on in the state of California with illegal immigration. So I'm looking forward to having him back on the air on a full-time basis. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Dr. History will be coming up in just a few minutes after the news, but I want to remind you we're also going to be talking at 10:30 to a lady by the name of Colleen Wood, and she's going to be talking about the Patriotic program that's going to be held this Sunday, July 1st, at the King Fine Arts Center, and I understand there's going to be 2 performances over there at 6 and 8 and the free admission, so don't forget that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, just a small comment here. Many of these politicians, Republicans, feel that if Sharia law takes over, the Muslims become a major problem in this country, they're going to be safe from anything that happens to. There's been revolutions in many foreign countries where the rich were targets. They became targets for elimination.
Absolutely.
A lot of the people are being quiet up here in Idaho, a lot of our politicians, but they don't realize what's really coming down the pipe.
Tony, you would be amazed at some of the liberalness that's in this area and some of the people that absolutely hate the stories that we put on the air, having Frosty on the air, my opinions on the air. They want open borders. They want a come on in, you're all welcome attitude at our expense. It's absolutely serious right now what's happening.
I know. I've been through this stuff down over 50 years ago where I came from, and I know the danger that's coming.
Absolutely. Tony, you're a dear friend of this program. Thank you, sir. God bless you, and I appreciate your call. God bless.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right now, let's go to the news from CBS, and we'll be back with Dr. History in about 7 minutes.
For surgery, gallbladder disease, ulcers. Sometimes they would get in and find cancer, and obviously these were not things that were hard to be able to treat.
Let me ask you a question. You know, we have done other stories on medicine in the Old West. And it must amaze you because you are a doctor that understands the human frame and the muscles and the skeletal system and everything. How did they make the progression from way back then to up now? I mean, people really it amazes me as to the education as to how they learn.
Okay, one thing to keep in mind is war is a good teaching tool. For the doctors.
Yeah.
The Civil War, they learned about amputations. Gradually, they learned about cleanliness. Gradually, they learned about all kinds of things. The Vietnam War, even World War II.
Yeah.
They learned things that they use even today. Now, not all doctors performed surgery. From colonial times, only a few men had the courage and instinct to be a surgeon, to actually cut into a person, okay? Now,
where do you think they first got the idea to do so?
I have no idea, but
have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, because somewhere along the line,
it went back to the ancient Egyptian times, didn't it?
Well, they did things back then, but for a long time they didn't, and doctors were nervous about cutting open a person.
Well, yeah.
But there was a Dr. John Jones in 1769. He told his students that a surgeon must have, quote, firm, steady hands and be able to use both alike, a strong, clear sight, above all, a mind calm and intrepid, yet humane and compassionate. So these surgeons had to be very, very skilled. I mean, we talk about maybe how much we've improved, but back then there were some very, very skilled doctors and surgeons that did some amazing things outside of hospitals.
Yeah.
Now, one extraordinary homestead surgeon was a guy by the name of Arthur Hertzler, and he actually has a book out there, an autobiography. It's called The Horse and Buggy Doctor, and it was published in 1938. I haven't read it, but I'm going to try to get it.
You know who I think of every time you talk about the horse and buggy doctors of the Old West? On Gunsmoke,
Oh, yeah.
Old Doc.
Yeah, yep. Well, this Dr. Hertzler, he practiced many years as a country doctor in Kansas. He actually trained himself as a surgeon.
Oh, my goodness.
Years later, he studied under the finest scientists in Europe.
How do you train yourself?
Experience. It's just experience. It really is. Now, he actually helped build a hospital. He helped establish a medical school. He taught pathology and surgery. And of his years as a kitchen table surgeon, here's what he says about that. Quote, I did operations on the road for conditions I would not think of doing even in a hospital now. He says, I operated on patients I had never seen before. The majority of the operations I did on the road were the usual operations done in any hospital. Tumors, repair of lacerations, cancer. He says, I drained 4 brain abscesses on the road. I did many mastoid operations. And he says, quote, I look back on those days of kitchen surgery with pleasure. He says, I saved many lives. Those days are gone forever. The coming generation of surgeons will not have a like experience. The story of kitchen surgery should not be lost. It presents many lessons of value today. Modern doctors will have to accept the word of the old kitchen surgeons that all that is needed for a good operation is a good surgeon and a patient. So that comes from one of the foremost surgeons, doctors of the era.
Now, you studied medicine and you became a chiropractor.
Yes.
And you understand, like I said earlier, the muscular and skeletal system of the human anatomy.
Yes.
But did you ever realize from whence it started? How did people look at a body and ascertain what was inside that body under the skin?
Well, many, many years ago, it was considered not right to dissect a dead person. That was considered, just taboo.
No autopsy.
No. So the doctors did not see what was underneath the skin. Finally, and I can't remember the year, they finally were allowed to start dissecting in anatomy dead people to trace the nerves, the bones, the muscles, the internal organs, be able to dissect a heart, a liver, a kidney.
Was the United States, per se, the leader of that?
Again, I'd have to go back and look at my some of my notes, but I'm pretty sure. No, I'm pretty sure it was over in Europe.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was over there. And I have read the story, the name of the doctor, that when he first started doing that, the rest of the medical community pretty much said you're a heretic, you're destroying a human body, but it had gradually caught on to where they were able to dissect and be able to figure out what was going on. One thing that happened years and years ago was there was a hospital that in the basement was the medical school where they were dissecting, and in the upstairs was where they delivered babies. So some of the doctors would be dissecting, then they'd go upstairs and deliver a baby, then come back down and do without washing, without cleanliness. And so the mortality rate for babies was big.
Oh, my goodness.
But somewhere along the line, and again, I can't remember the name of the doctors, but they decided, okay, from now on, you wash your hands and get clean before you go deliver babies.
Really?
And the mortality rate decreased tremendously to where many more babies and mothers lived after delivering babies. So the medical profession is obviously I've studied all my life, and I am amazed at the things that we still learn, the procedures that are still being learned even today.
And all of this basically can be attributed to procedures like the kitchen table doctors.
These guys learned, medical school was just a beginning.
Wow.
The real learning was when they got out in the country.
And so really the word practice, it has more meaning than
really
what you
does.
think.
It really does, because, and we've talked about the Indian medicine, the cavalry doctors, there's so much involved.
It makes you appreciate we live in the time we do.
Yeah. Even China. I mean, China was way ahead as far as preventive medicine.
Yeah.
So
dentistry, all the way to surgical procedures, everything.
Yes.
Of which I still don't like to go to the dentist.
It's an amazing study. I've been fascinated with it my whole life. The study of the human body, how it works, what works when it's not, what's going on when it's not working, and what to do about it.
Even though it was kind of gruesome at parts, it was very informative. And now I'm starting to talk like a doctor. But anyway, I appreciate that. It makes one ask more questions.
It really does. And again, I have the highest respect for the medical professions throughout the world that are finding new and better methods for doing things.
Wow. That was great.
Thank you.
Excellent. What are we going to talk about next week?
That remains a serious mystery at this point.
The doctors are still uncovering it.
We're still discussing that.
Yes. Doc, you're going to be here next week.
Yes, I will be.
Okay,
yes.
And that's the day before the 4th of July. I hope you and your family have a wonderful Independence Day.
We will. We're going to go over to the Rupert Parade and have some Mexican food. They have a great original Mexican trailer there. We always go get tacos and enchiladas and beans. Oh, it's
Your
good.
family knows how to eat.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay. Hey, God bless you.
Thank you, Zeb.
Dr. History. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we also have another great segment called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by some wonderful sponsors. A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. All the clothing and the furniture, everything for the wee ones, and also it's a family store at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and also the Ambulatory Surgery Center, where you can save money on your outpatient surgeries. Call them, find out more, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland, and A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, bringing you on Thursdays at 1010 Cassia County School Days. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I have a passion for losing ink pens. I had one in my pocket, and I had one in my hand while Dr. History was here, and I can't find my ink pens anymore. I don't know what I did with them. All of a sudden, the ink goblins came by and took my ink pen. We're going to be talking to a lady that I visited with on the phone yesterday, and she's going to be telling us all about a big patriotic program that's going to be taking place this weekend on Sunday at the King Fine Arts Center. Good morning, Colleen Wood. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and good morning to you.
Okay, I think this is fantastic that people like yourself are getting involved and putting on patriotic programs. I hope the place is bulging at the seams with people trying to get in and be a part of it. Tell us a little bit about what they can expect on Sunday, July 1st.
Okay, I hope our seats are full, too. We have 2 performances, one at 6 and one at 8 p.m. And as they come up to the auditorium, they'll see the flags flying down both sides of the street. And we have a 50-piece choir that will be singing about 7 patriotic songs. We have the Idaho Rocky Mountain Cloggers that will be clogging to Your Grand Old Flag. And we've included several of our veterans, or related. Damian Rodriguez, who is the commander of the 5th District American Legion, will be doing God Bless America. And he's a classmate of mine, and I have another classmate I've enlisted, Harley Goodwin. He will be doing one of the things he does. He belongs to the Minicasia Veterans Group that does the military rites at funerals. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that reads the part about the flag, and he will be presenting that. Another tie to the military, and this is new this year, we're going to have a little small art display in the foyer by Anna Workman. And she is the Gold Star mother of Sergeant Chris Workman, who was killed in Afghanistan. And she has wonderful watercolors, and the money from her proceeds when she sells the patriotic painting goes to a scholarship fund in his name. And so that's some really nice ties that we have going with the military. And then we have the Burley American Legion will be presenting our colors during that. So we've wanted to make this as patriotic with people involved as we can. We've got our 8 hands, 4 people piano going. Some are going to be disappointed they're not going to do Stars and Stripes this year, but we've got another wonderful song that we're going to have them do. So we hope they'll come out. There'll be narration. The script is written by Charmaine Rouse and includes some narration intermingled with the special numbers and the choir song.
Oh, Colleen, wait a minute. I need to interject and ask the question here. What did you say a moment ago about a 4-person piano? Explain that to me and my audience.
Well, this has just been a really big thing in the past. There's 4 people, 2 pianos, and so that makes 8 hands going at one time. And they have done in the past the Stars and Stripes Forever. Oh. That this year they won't be doing that rendition, but we have them doing March Militaire, which is another patriotic rousing thing. And it's just really fascinating to see it.
Oh, my. Now, the performance times, you're going to have 2 shows. Are they going to be the same shows at 6 and 8 p.m.?
Yes, they're exactly the same shows. Mm-hmm. What happened is when this got moved to the Fine Arts Center, our attendance was so big at the first showing, the first year that they did at the Fine Arts Center, that we started doing 2 showings.
I see.
And the shows are about around an hour long, and so we're able to clear out the auditorium. And some people stay for both performances. They love it so much. But we're just so happy to have people come and hope they'll do their patriotic spirit with us.
Colleen, let me ask you a personal question about you, yourself. Why did you want to get involved in this?
I had sang previous when the program was going before, and then I had also worked a little bit in some of the background of putting it on, and really missed it and was sad when it kind of ended, and I had a few people come to me and say, how can we get this started again? And so we met and decided we wanted to do it, and that's where it went. So that's how I got involved.
Let me ask you this. What are you doing to notify the younger generation and or younger parents? Boy, this is a great, great program to really teach. Use it as a teaching moment. How are you getting the word out to them?
Well, we have put it, in the papers and so forth. We've sent it to churches to let them know. We have some youth that are singing with the choir. And our closing number is Let There Be Peace on Earth. And we have some youth that will start the song and then join the choir with us.
Okay.
And so we hope we can, friends and family of them will come. We did put it out into the schools before school was out that they could come sing with the choir. And so we try to, to get it. We hope parents will click onto this and say this is a good way to show them that spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to this 4th of July patriotic program in the past, and it left me absolutely awestruck as to the abilities and the talents in this area.
We do. We have a lot of wonderful talent in our area, and it's nice to give them an avenue to express that.
Okay, now, is it going to cost a whole bunch of money to get in?
It doesn't cost you a penny, just your time and your gas to get there. We wanted this to be a community-sponsored, and so the last time I talked to you, we put out that we, wanted donations, and we appreciate those who did send in donations. And then I visited the service clubs, and when I visited with the Burley Lions Club, and we were explaining some of the expenses and things, and they said, well, why don't we just help you out? And so this year they're co-sponsoring it along with the other patrons of the community that have donated funds.
Wow.
And then they decided as a board that they would sponsor us in the future.
Well, wonderful. I can't say thank you enough for your efforts and others being involved in this. Why don't you give us a complete rundown one more time of what's going to take place on Sunday, July 1st, right from the get-go. Tell us one more time.
Okay. The date is this Sunday at the King Fine Arts Center. One showing is at 6 o'clock and one is at 8 p.m. There will be a little art show in the foyer for you to check out some patriotic art before you go in or when you come out. And it will begin with taps, and we have choirs and special musical numbers, and, of course, the color guard with our flags, and the cloggers will be there, and the pianos, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful show.
I wish you a great success this Sunday. I hope, like I said earlier, the place is bulging at the seams at the Fine Arts Center in Burley, King Fine Arts Center. Colleen, thank you for coming on my program, and hats off to you for being involved in helping promote this.
Thank you, and we hope we see everybody there.
All right, thank you very much. I don't care how corny it might sound to some, but when I hear all that patriotic music and the celebration of Independence Day on the 4th of July, oh, man, that makes me feel good. I've been to one of their programs in the past, and absolutely fantastic talent in this area. Calls are welcome and appreciated for the bulk of the rest of this half hour. I'd love to visit with you, so give me a jingle, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. So give me a call on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Talking about Independence Day and the 4th of July celebrations and everything, I want to remind you, the Rupert Merchants, people like Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. They are just off the square. They've got all your flooring needs, carpet, hardwood, laminates, vinyl, tile, you name it, they've got it, and installation is guaranteed with Magic Valley Carpet over in Rupert. And also Haskin Insurance Service, 629 Fremont Street in Rupert. Don't forget, the folks over there wish all their customers and friends a very happy Independence Day and safe 4th of July activities. Absolutely going to be a lot of fun, and don't forget they can help you with all your home, auto, farm, life, or health insurance. Call them today. Haskin Insurance Service in Rupert, and those are just two great businesses asking you to be a part of the Rupert 4th of July activities. Okay, your turn. Call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was absolutely, I guess I'm not shocked. I guess you have to expect this with the loser mentality on the left, which they are. Hillary Clinton still standing in quicksand over the election that she lost and blaming it on everyone or everything else. At first I kind of chuckled when I heard her with her lame excuse, now going after the Electoral College and the election process in our country. And here's a woman that absolutely is not wanted or liked by the American public. Here is a woman that absolutely has been the focal point of a lot of stories, television, radio, etc., newspapers over the many, many years, and she is a very non-likable person. But she is absolutely now trying to blame the Electoral College and our electoral voting process in this country as a negativity and trying to demand change, saying that cost her the election. You know, think about the way we do things in this country and the forethought for generations of our forefathers that looked down the road and they said, states like Idaho, smaller states with population, they will not be represented and be able to go up against the large industrial masses of Boston, New York, Chicago, L.A., and we need to have an electoral process that's going to be fair and equitable to all the states and the entire population, to which we have. But now, with the loser mentality on the left, not liking the application of that voting process, they're going to try to change it. And I dare say that if we see voting in the future lean towards liberalness, which I hope it doesn't, we're going to see that a process and that electoral process change, not for the better. I don't know why I want to keep saying electrical, but I'm very concerned with the loser mentality on the left. They don't want to abide by the rules. They want to change the rules. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I have a moment and I'm waiting for your calls to share with me on the program this morning, I'd like to also, electrical and electoral, I don't know how I did that so easily, but it just flowed. I want to mention to you that our weather forecast brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, the delicious meats. Whether we're talking about the breakfast bacons, the different kinds, or the sausages, or the bratwurst, or the prime ribs. Oh, it doesn't make any difference. It is all great. Scarro's Meats, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
The sun is going to be shining, but it's a little on the breezy side. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We were hot yesterday, but today going to be a little bit more mild. Sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83. However, winds out of the west right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 25 miles an hour, and that's bringing our temperature down just a bit. Tonight, mostly clear skies, expecting a low of 53. Tomorrow, another warm one. Sunny skies, going to be calm, high of 91, mostly clear for Wednesday night with a low of 60. By Thursday, winds picking up again, bringing down that temperature, mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 77 with an overnight low of 52. By Friday, mostly sunny and 71, and then for Saturday, mostly sunny and mid-70s. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
I don't think anybody can argue with that forecast. It sounds absolutely phenomenal, and I love it. Thank you, Gina. We appreciate that. Weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and his staff at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, again, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, your turn. Come on, dial the number, pick up the phone. Yes, sir, I'd love to hear from you. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about this morning, the arrogant and absolutely elitist attitude from the left, and some of the tweets and some of the emails and everything against Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And she spoke out against a reporter asking a stupid question yesterday. And the left says that Sarah Sanders should quit her job if she can't take the harassment. What? Let me ask you, when you go to work at your job, What would happen if all of a sudden people started beating on the door or going to the window and demanding that you quit, demanding that you apologize for the job that you do, demanding that you quit and leave and never be involved in your job again? What would you do? Well, naturally, if you're like me, you'd probably get very upset and want to fight back, strike back. Sarah Sanders has absolutely handled this with a real touch of class. She was at a restaurant and in Virginia, and the deplorable management and others asked her to leave because they didn't want a person of her type, if that makes any sense, in the restaurant, and so she graciously got up and left. But look what's happened to others, whether it's the Homeland Security Secretary Nielsen or anyone else. They've run into a lot of problems. Now they're going to their homes. And the left and these loons think it is fair game to go to people's homes and stand in their flower beds, stand on their front lawn, and absolutely disrupt their daily activities with their families. What are your thoughts about that? Give me a call. I want to hear that. There's got to be some sense of decency. In this country, you can protest, but in the proper fashion. But to go to people's homes and on their property and everything else, I say turn the water on or sick the dogs on them or whatever, but get them off personal property. This has gone way too far. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb. I am just in total agreement with you on everything on what's going on that with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I heard this morning that they, along that line and everything, that both Pelosi and Schumer basically told Maxine Waters to more or less to shut up on all the rhetoric that she's been getting out, and a little sidelight deal on the restaurant that Ms. Sanders went to. I guess they're really, this last week, because of all the uproar and backlash because of her being kicked out of their restaurant, they are going to GoFundMe to help back up some of the expenses and everything that they're losing in.
You know, let me ask you something. I'm assuming that you're in the same age bracket as I am. But when did America...
about 5 years younger.
Oh, okay. Well, when did America lose its sense of decency and its sense of responsibility? When did we throw that in the garbage can and walk away?
I somehow think it happened right around the time that JFK was assassinated, somewhere in that area.
Really?
I think so.
You know, I've said on my program...
I was only 9 at the time, but that's kind of what I got.
Well, think about this and respond to it, but I maintain this, and I've been chided by certain people saying, you're just a corny old conservative. I look back at the time in our history when the Saturday Evening Post magazine, do you remember that magazine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Remember the covers that they had on the Saturday Evening Post that were painted pictures by Norman Rockwell, and they might show a family walking down a leaf-strewn street going to church, or they might show a family that's sitting and praying at the kitchen table, or they might show a family opening up gifts under the Christmas tree. That's when America was wholesome. That's when America, regardless of political affiliation, we still maintained a sense of decency. And when I listen to the likes of Maxine Waters and to the crybaby attitude of Hillary Clinton and to all the others on the left that are absolutely out demonstrating and yelling and screaming and using filthy language, we've lost our sense of decency.
I agree with you there. Now, I was going to ask you this. I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time, too, when talking about the cause of when it all started kind of going awry. Do you think that maybe the Vietnam War had something to do with it?
I do. I do. I think that we lost our morality and we lost our decency to each other with our returning soldiers. One of my best friends came back from Vietnam, walked out of the concourse from the airplane and was spit on by protesters. And I could never imagine and I could never understand why, when a person puts on the military uniform to fight for their country, why there are people that would denigrate them and spit on them when they are basically putting their lives on the line for those twisted minds.
No, because no matter where they went, no matter who it was, whether it was in World War II, Vietnam, Persian Gulf, whatever, they're all there for serving our country.
Absolutely.
And that's all we should have ever... no disgrace to any of them.
Well, I think it was our generation, and I'm lumping you into my generation, that with the Kent State attitude back in the 60s and the anything goes hippie attitude, it was the denigration, I agree with you, of decency in this country, to where we looked at one another, shared each other's viewpoints, and were able to come away at least with a shake of the hands and agreeing to disagree. I think that the total anarchy started back in the 60s.
Now, do you think with all that's going on right now, are you kind of like me in the back of my mind, kind of afraid of a Kent State moment?
Oh, I am. I am, and I see it coming.
The violence.
I am.
And it's going to go.
I am, more so than ever before, and Frosty and I were talking about this off the air this morning. I think that we're going to see more civil unrest that is aided and abetted by people that would like to see this country torn apart and moved down in status to a third world country. I think the hatred in this country is at a point where no matter what happens, they want to see Trump fail, and they will aid and abet any movement that would help him fail. I think we're looking at a real division in this country of good, bad, and evil.
Yep, that's exactly where we're at right now.
Thank you for your call. You are always welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
And thank you, Zeb. You have a great day.
All right, sir.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires. When you're getting ready for a road trip, they have everything waiting for you. Yep, for your car, your pickup, SUV, whatever, and all the different tread designs. And they know, they've got the experts there that absolutely know which tires are best befitting your driving. Okay? Check it out today. Stop in and make sure you get a good visit with one of their representatives about the tires you need for your vehicle. And also, don't forget they offer a free pre-trip safety check, including the air tire pressure, the brake components, the wheel alignment for tire wear, front end components, shocks and struts, battery, including a load test. All of this to make sure that you have a fun road trip. Stop in and see today Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to wrap it up for today. What have we got cooking for tomorrow? We've got Dave Bigo in Indianapolis. We got Dan Perkins down in Florida. We've got some other guests at 10:30 or 10:06 and 10:30. And to be honest with you, I can't remember their names. But we'll have a full program tomorrow from 8:06 to 11 right here on KBAR, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live all over the world on the internet, zebbell.com. Until tomorrow, remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Have a great day, everybody.